I feel like everyone who plays Marvel Snap has that one card that they love, but they just can't make it work. And for me, it's always been Jean Grey. But with the changes to War Machine and the addition of Madam Web, I feel like I finally have a Jean Grey deck that I love.
Jean Grey, Jean Grey, Jean Grey. Cyan, bitch in the X-Wing.
So, as you'd guess, this is an ongoing list. You have the big ongoing toxic package of US Agent, Man-Thing, and Luke Cage, who can be game-winning. And then you have the War Machine package of Ebony Maw, Jean Grey, and Infinite. You can play Maw after turn 3, or just play cards behind him with War Machine. Madam Web also lets you move him or move cards behind him, so he's not always a massive hindrance if you don't have War Machine. Then how does it work with Jean? Well, you force your opponent to play into lanes they don't want to play in. So you can force them to play into your Cosmo lane, a Man-Thing lane, or even a US Agent. And then on top of all this, if you're just unlocking Miss Marvel out of the cache tomorrow, well, it gives great power to the deck, and the deck plays on a nice curve, so it's really easy to meet the condition. And if you're doing things like stacking a Cosmo on top of a Jean Grey, you can use Madam Web to rearrange your cards so it meets the Miss Marvel condition. Then Claw is just an amazing ongoing card that can reach behind your Maw, and Spectrum is an alternative last turn drop if you'd rather go wide with power than really tall with your Infinite. And overall, this deck is pretty tough, probably the hardest ongoing list I've played, so don't get discouraged if it isn't clicking right away. Now, let's talk substitutions real quick. Madam Web could be subbed out for Goose. I actually swapped between the two in this video, but Web seems just to be a little better in this meta, and if you don't have Miss Marvel, Man-Thing, or War Machine, you could go Iron Man, Skrull, or Prof X. If you take out War Machine, it's a bit of a different deck. You just replace Jean for like Mobius or something like Speed, and then Maw for Ant-Man and Infinite for Onslaught. Lastly, again, US Agent could be Goose, or it could be Lizard, who also interacts well with Luke Cage. But we had some really fun games both on the High Infinite ladder and in Conquest with this deck, so I hope you enjoy the games. The first game, I wanted to show just how much power this deck can pump. I cage into Man-Thing, who gets insane value on the Destroyed Mansion, and then I claw into Onslaught Citadel, which is already an insane play, and although he has Destroyer in his Cosmo lane, I'm able to Miss Marvel, and it just cooks so hard. When you're playing decks that don't disrupt this deck, it can just get a lot of power, and we win this even without Onslaught Citadel. The next game, we Jean into War Machine, which is a great start that I like, and that lets us play Miss Marvel into Ebony Maw on 5. And I just need to beat him on Fist Tower, which seems doable with Infinite, and we go for it, and they have Mockingbird, and we dodge the Marvel Boy mid, but Sunspot soaks up a lot of power, and we end up losing the tiebreaker. It's like, damn, I overcommitted with the Maw, but I swear they had Blue Marvel or something cooking. So the next game, we Zabu from Triskelion, which lets us get out an early War Machine. From there, we get out the big value Man-Thing, and on turn 5, I love Jean Grey along one of my 2s. It just makes the final turn a lot easier, and from here, looking at the board, all we have to do is drop down Infinite on Triskelion. But they're out of there. Which is one issue with Jean, is she can lock out an opponent from the game, and you don't get too many 8-cube wins. We move to a few Conquest runs, and I start with Maw. I go into Cosmo, but sadly it can't stop his cast Nova. But Man-Thing is able to take good care of the Brood over on the bridge, and Jean Grey mid makes it so he can't play Ultron. And we play a rock in War Machine, and he plays his own rock into Sandman, and we're able to take the dub. Next game, I get hit with a early Moon Knight, so I am fully expecting an Agatha deck, and I have my US Agent and Jean Grey set up, so Agatha has to be played into US Agent. And Jean Grey forcing them all into Kunlun, I just play Spectrum, and it's a dub. So about halfway, I switch to Madam Web for Goose, and I think this is the move. I play out Web mid, and I have a bit of a slow start. Claw gets hit with Spider-Ham, and from there I put down Cosmo, and then I'm able to put down Crossbones that I get from the Great Portal. And because of Madam Web, I get a move over Cosmo, which is an interaction I love, and it blocks their junk deck from Vipering over the -6 Hood. And yeah, he is gonna be out of there. We then hop back to the ladder and we drop our US agent, they drop their Dazzler, and I'm able to get out Jean Grey into War Machine. This makes it so I can win on Kiln and ignore the Brooklyn Bridges conditions. I drop Cage over on the right, hoping he can win that lane, and then drop Ebony Maw, which is a juicy play, but he has Dr. Doom, so I still need to contest the kill. And what I'm gonna do is just drop Claw. Good enough, right? But he Grandmasters Dr. Doom, which is insane. And somehow, thanks to US Agent, we win the match. Now, going into the last game, we can just drop Ebony Maw down, and they drop their Sable, of course, and Kiln is going to be big for us once again, so we set up Madam Web. From there, I'm playing Jean into War Machine, which I love to do, as you've seen in this video, and between their Marvel Boy and Kazar, they're starting to get some big power over there. And as Jean forces him to fill Savage Land, I can move her over to Dream Dimension, where then the last turn happens. But yeah, I honestly think there's an even better War Machine Jean Grey deck out there waiting to be put together. But I love this one, and I love what it has to offer. If you liked the video, I'd super appreciate it if you liked, commented, and subscribed. But that's all for me. I'm gonna see ya in the next one. Bye!